Welcome to this postgame media edition of Talking Hoosier Baseball. Today is Sunday, March 30th, 2025. Yesterday, Indiana scored 12 runs in the first 4 innings, but couldn't hold on to a 9-run lead after 5 innings, as USC slowly came back and took over with a 2-run homer in the top of the 9th. USC went on to defeat Indiana 13-12. Head coach Jeff Mercer met with the media following the loss. After the 4th inning, the offense was really not able to produce much. And while obviously had a huge lead from before that, what's your opinion of what the offense did and was unable to do after that point?
Yeah, it looked to me like they went back to more prototypical hard stuff, more fastballs, and typically what we've done well is handle fastballs well. And when they flip back from a ton of soft stuff, we did a good job adjusting yesterday. And then early today to a bunch of soft stuff and staying in the other way to the middle of the field. And then we went back to more, 92, 93, kind of that low to mid 90s fastballs and sinkers. We just didn't turn timing back around. And, you're in the moment of that, you're talking to them about getting back on time and staying with it. And at the same time, it's hard to hit. So you're trying to not be terribly judgmental on what's happening if guys are executing pitches and whatnot. But they did a good job switching their style back to more of a prototypical power stuff, and we didn't do a good job of adjusting back into being back on fastball timing and turning the ball around. We were a little bit more defensive in some of those fastball counts and got beat by heaters, and typically we do really well with those, but it was just a change of pace that it made it much more difficult for those guys to do that.
I guess on the other side of that, what went wrong on the mound from a pitching perspective those last couple innings?
Yeah, it's just we're just short. Grable didn't feel good yesterday playing catch, and he was a worry to go out and take the ball. Today he's at 100 pitches last week, and so you have a short start, doubleheader yesterday, and so you're still down a couple of those arms that you obviously Burr and Yarberry and ADP's better, but he's not as good as he has been in the past, and so you look up and you have a doubleheader yesterday, and then you're a short start today, and then you're just chasing innings all day, and we knew it was going to be a tough back half of the game from a standpoint of wind blown out against a really good offense. You knew that was going to happen. You just hoped that with the lead that you could just outpace them and outrun them, and we didn't do that. And truth be told, Coach Glant wanted to make the change after Gubitasi's, I think the second inning, and go to ADP with the lead, and I didn't want to make the change there. Gubi was throwing strikes and it was contact, and we knew they were going to hit it at some point. But my fear was just free bases, and we walked the bases loaded, and that's my fault. Like, we don't lose the game in the 9th, we lost the game there, where you can't have a bunch of free bases in the beginning, and by trying to avoid that, I walked us right into that. And so that's what I told the team, and that stinks because you like we talk about all the time, you try to pride yourself on making good decisions, putting guys in best positions, and I have to have more confidence that those guys are going to come in, and they may get hit, but if they get hit, we give up runs that way. That's the way it goes. And those guys, I need to expect them to be able to do their jobs, and I didn't do a good enough job of putting those guys in that position to be successful. And I walked us into the situation that I was trying to help to avoid. And so the huge part of that's just on my decision in that situation. And we probably could have gone to ADP earlier in that inning, and that's on me too. And so I take a lot of responsibility in that.
And it's after that situation, it's 12-8, and you opt to go to Caleb Koski. Was there any thought of going to a veteran like Darren Swanson, someone who had been pretty rock solid after coming into this rotation 2 to 3 weeks ago?
We thought about it. He wasn't as good last week in that kind of same situation where we needed strikes, and against a very similar offense, right? You're in West Coast offense where they're not going to expand the zone. They've seen a bunch of change ups, and so felt like Koski came in, I guess it was yesterday now, came in and filled it up and got a fly out to right. We thought, he throws from 2 angles, throws a sinker and throws a 4-seam. Again, trying to sinkers and change-ups, trying to keep him on the ground. We walked the leadoff guy, and then Hedges is a tremendous player, so he got him kind of back out of there. But yeah, we had talked about it with Swanson. Just he's a four-seam guy with a changeup on a windy day, and that's a tough recipe for that guy. You if it's a north wind and you feel like you can give up solid contact in the air and be okay, then you would go in that situation. But just the circumstances, we didn't feel like that was. We felt like the sinker, the opportunity to have a sinker and changeup was a better chance to keep the ball on the ground, keep the ball in the park.
Go ahead.
Good.
Coach Morin last week when I was in South Carolina mentioned how the Big Ten's gotten bigger, stronger, faster with the West Coast schools, and she's trying to adapt to that. Is there anything you see with the West Coast baseball schools that maybe you guys need to adapt to going forward, or have you seen anything that they've introduced that you guys see that you need to get going with?
Yeah, I mean the West Coast is it's a different brand of baseball. They're incredibly talented. They're physical. Those guys have many of the best baseball players in the world within an hour or two of campus, and so they're deeper on the mound. They've got more guys to go to, and they're really physical through the lineups, and they play great defense. And so playing against really good teams makes you a lot better. It's just the Big Ten's a different animal. It's just a different animal than it was a year ago. And so everyone's going to have to learn to adjust and manage their way through it. And you don't get away with mistakes. You don't get to get away with, a big lead. It's just they're always in the game. But that's what great teams do, and they're great teams. I mean, those teams are outstanding. USC loses three close games to Oregon. Oregon's a top 10 team in the country, and USC's a great team too. So it is. They're physical. They're fundamental. They have pitchability on the mound. All those things are true, and so we're going to have to learn to play at a higher level and get healthy and try to get back on schedule and get back into obviously a 3-day setup would help us to be able to spread guys out a little bit and give us hopefully some better length. But yeah, they're going to change the way the game's played for sure.
This feels like one of those back-breaking losses. Obviously, it can snowball. But how do you get your team off the canvas after something like this?
Yeah, I just told them. I said, listen, that stinks. Like I'm not saying I don't feel the same way that they feel. To be in the position to win a series against a really good team like that, it's hard to do. And to be there and then to have it get away from you is really hard. When I was a kid, my dad would always say, you got 24 hours to feel bad about something that went against you. And after 24 hours, you have to get up and move on, and what now, and move forward. So the reality is, it's one game, and we did a lot of good things throughout the course of the weekend, and we weren't able to finish it off. So you played 3 competitive games against a really good team, and you took one on the chin today. But I said, dinner's going to taste bad, and breakfast is going to taste bad, and probably lunch is going to taste bad. But by tomorrow night, you have to move on. You have to move forward. You have to assess what went wrong and why we weren't able to be successful, and then advance yourself and move forward and get ready to play Louisville on Tuesday, and I think Michigan State next weekend, and you have to move on. The good thing about baseball is there's another game coming, there's another day coming, and so it doesn't define the season a bad day. And so we've been through some tough stuff before, and we'll get through this too. So you just have to move on. As hard as it is to say, I don't believe in momentum. I don't believe there's an invisible hand that comes down and takes you one way or the other. I do believe in your mindset and in your attitude, and so you have to pick up and move forward. And I have to do a better job, and I have to trust some of those things, and I'll make an adjustment, and I'll be better moving forward. And now that's the advice I give the guys as well.
Jacob Vogel in his first appearance since the opening day start looked pretty solid in his and only about 6 or 7 pitches thrown. Is there something you envision for his role going forward and how he can help this pitching staff that's definitely thin?
Yeah, exactly what he did. The velo is still not quite back to where it once was, but it's a 4-seam ride, and he's got a good little changeup now and the little cutter with it as well. So those are that 9th inning is last year would have been his inning, and when he's back to full tilt, that would be his inning. And so for us, it's just trying to chop those games up when we get in those situations like that, and using him to be able to get us across the finish line. So yeah, it'd be those leverage innings where you're trying to chop a game up and hold a lead and keep it tied and move forward. So yeah, he's a guy we trust a lot. He came in, did a really good job. In hindsight 2020, maybe you start him in the 9th and let him go. But you don't know until you know.
After 2 days off, Indiana welcomes number 18 Louisville on Tuesday at 6 p.m. for a midweek tilt at home. See you at the Bart.